and not to get caught up in it, and then it will pass. Because a lot of the fear we experience is irrational fear, has no basis in reality. And if there is a basis in reality, when that fear arises, then instead of getting caught up in it, you know, sometimes if we're in a dangerous situation, we have too much fear, we're not thinking clearly, and then to avoid the fear, we end up doing things that don't help because we're overwhelmed by the fear. So if we're in a dangerous situation and fear comes up, we can notice that and go, okay, oh yes, there's danger there, let's get out of there. So even mindfulness in a reality-based fear situation is going to be very helpful, that we don't get overwhelmed by fear and end up doing, responding in an inappropriate way.
Two questions. One regarding cognitive
Fusion? Yeah.
If you have compassion, will automatically you will not have cognitive fusion?
I don't know about automatic, but I think that if we have compassion, that is coming from sort of seeing things in a very clear way. And by seeing things in a clear way, we're not doing the cognitive fusion. So I think they sort of go hand in hand, but maybe not automatic, but I think there's a very strong correlation there.
Because otherwise I think you would have pity.
Well, then that's not compassion, and that's what we're going to look at probably tomorrow. There is what's called a near enemy of things, and one of the near enemies of compassion is pity. And pity is often, again, coming from a little bit of cognitive fusion.
And my other question is, I mean, when I looked at the presentation of cognitive fusion, it appeared to me the same presentation as inherent existence and dependent arising.
Exactly.
I mean, it seems...
Exactly. So the point here is then, in this example is just one example of cognitive fusion. We do cognitive fusion in many different ways. This is one classic way where we wrongly identify ourselves and others with behaviour. But also we wrongly identify ourselves and others with our emotions. You know, for example, I'm an angry person, that's me, you better accept that. We identify ourselves wrongly with our thoughts, our memories, our personality. So either we are our thoughts or we have thoughts. We have thoughts, so we're not our thoughts. Either we are our emotions or we have emotions. We have emotions. Either we are our behaviour or we have a certain behaviour. Either we are our habits or we have habits. Either we are our memories or we have memories. Either we are our personality or we have a personality. So these are all things which we have. So we are none of those things. But very often we identify ourselves as one of those things. That's cognitive fusion. And what you're suggesting, I think, is that at a slightly deeper level, we can say either we are our body or we have a body. Either we are our mind or we have a mind. We have a body, we have a mind, so we're not the body and the mind. And usually we identify this as me. That's cognitive fusion. That's a false view. So if we're not our body and mind, what are we? That's what we're going to look at in day 9. The fact that we can ask the question proves we exist, because if we don't exist, we can't ask the question. So we definitely exist. The question is not whether or not we exist, the question is how we exist. Now we wrongly identify ourselves with things which are not us as us, and that's where the problem begins.
Compassion and wisdom go with the peaceful and the strength?
Goes with peaceful and
strength?
Strength?
Strength. You mean like self-confidence?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
What about group? We are speaking all the time about maybe bad behavior, bad person, but I had the experience with group that made something bad for me.
Group.
Groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad group?
Some people together.
A bad group?
Yeah, it's a,
Technically, no such thing as a bad group. There's only groups who sometimes have bad behavior or bad habits.
So you have to separate them and to think about this one, and
So, not separate.
separate the behavior. This behavior.
No.
So what?
No. Because the two extremes is identifying and the other extreme is separating. Because separating is, I didn't do that, wasn't me. You can't separate a person from their behaviour. You can't have a person here and the behaviour there. Because separation sort of leads to no responsibility. I'm not responsible because my behaviour is something separate from me. That's the other extreme. They're the two extremes we end up in, either identifying or cutting. The middle way is to distinguish person from behaviour. But that still means the person is responsible for their behaviour. It's not like they're two separate things and therefore I'm not responsible. So that's the other extreme.
So if it's group, if it's some people that make something for, I can give you an example if you want.
No, it's okay. So again, it's just a group of people, all of which, like ourselves, is trying to be happy and trying to be free of suffering, and they're engaging in some behaviour that's just causing suffering. So they're doing some bad behaviour. So let's try and help that group of people to overcome that negative behaviour. Can we make them change? No. But at least we could, from our side, is not become part of the problem by reacting with anger, but try to be part of the solution by trying to help that group. Maybe we can't help, but at least we shouldn't be part of the problem. I mean, that's all we can do. We can't do more than that. No, we can't make them...
But there is a result.
Sorry?
It's become a lot of results,
Results.
What becomes results?
How this group make something that I can see the results.
Correct. So therefore, part of that, if this group of people are creating a lot of suffering, we may need to use some very strong actions to stop that, particularly if it's illegal. No, but I mean, so we're not saying, don't stop people from behaving badly. In fact, we need to try and do that. But if we attack the person, then we become part of the problem, because then we become a perpetrator. So rather than doing that, we need to attack the behaviour. And that may involve doing something very forceful to stop this group of people from behaving in this way. That's compassion. But if we get angry, we're probably going to overreact, maybe do things that are not so useful, and then we also become part of the problem.
But sometimes we think we're angry, but we do things that hurt. And then afterwards we can know that it was concession.
Yeah, but then...
But it wasn't anger.
No, see, the thing is, what you notice is that in these difficult situations, one way, and sometimes there's like a mixture. There's a mixture of the two. But how to see which one is more strong is if there's more anger, our mind is very agitated. If there's more compassion, it tends to be more equanimous. It tends to be more, it can be very strong, but it's not like this. It's more, you can be very forceful, but your mind is quite even with force. Whereas if it's anger, your mind is very agitated and disturbed. So that's one way to notice how much of each of those are present. Okay, let's do another practice. So we'll go back to the breath practice at the nostrils. So just 2 points, and then I won't really say much in the meditation. So again, if you find that you're getting heavily distracted and you find counting or noting the breath helpful, then bring that in. And if you're finding a lot of tension building up, particularly in the area of the face, and the neck and so forth, even if you're focusing well and you can't release that tension, then go back down and focus on the abdomen or rhythm of the breath to really establish that basis in relaxation. So let's do that practice. So again, 20-minute session. Setting the body into a state of relaxation, stillness, and vigilance. And relaxing more deeply with each out-breath. And with each out-breath, letting go of any thoughts that may have arisen, happily releasing them. And allowing the mind to come to rest in the present moment. And simply becoming aware of the rhythm of the breath. Now narrow your focus and focus on the sensations of the breath at the entrance of the nostrils. And maintaining that ongoing flow of mindfulness of the sensations of the breath throughout the entire cycle of each in and out breath.